case you don't have enough Gundam anime in your life, let me recommend checking out the second season of Gundam Thunderbolt, a brand new anime OVA which was just released over the last week. It is the sequel to the very first season, Gundam Thunderbolt, which, no, I did not finish reviewing, but let me just say that this is a great Gundam anime series, and very different, both visually and cinematically and musically, and even in the choreography. Lots of ease in this brand new Gundam anime right here. It really does sell you on its concept, and what I love most about it is that it doesn't really worry about fitting too much in the overall Gundam timeline. One of the most interesting things about Gundam Thunderbolt is the fact that it takes place in the original Universal Century story. However, we see a lot of mobile suits which are way more advanced than the stuff that we actually see from that series, and you can definitely tell that they're sort of like cherry-picking the things that they want to use and sort of just reinventing and creating their very own ideas for this show. But honestly, I really do think it works, because the first season was not only a visual treat, but had some of the greatest music and soundtracks that I've heard from just about any other anime, very high on the freeform jazz. Not only that, but the actual series ended on a cliffhanger that left me feeling a little unsatisfied. I was curious to see if they were going to bring this up again in a second season. They made no formal announcements until a couple of months ago, and bam, in the first episode, it picks up immediately from the end of that. So, let's just go ahead and dive into my review of the 5th episode of Mobile Suit Gundam Thunderbolt. So, picking up immediately from the end of the last season, E.O. Fleming has been captured by the Zeon, and he's been locked up and continues to have the ever-living shit beat out of him. Now we cut forward to the beginning of this episode, which actually takes place at the Battle of Abaoku, which is the final battle of the original Mobile Suit Gundam series. This is a great backdrop immediately, as we get an excuse to just see a lot of really cool kick-ass mobile suits, and even some that we never saw in the original series, and it's all expertly animated. I especially loved this one riff on this mobile suit, which seems to be like sort of a Zeong-type mobile suit. What I mean by this is that it's able to detach its hands, which all have these crazy lasers. And I love the scene when it grabs onto a mobile suit and you can actually see them all coming out from the fingers and exploding in different directions in this mobile suit. It's just your first glimpse and letting you know that this series has got some damn awesome style. But basically, this whole scene right here is the final battle from the original series from a different perspective, seeing different soldiers at work. And you get to see that there are these Federation soldiers which are making their way into the base, and they actually manage to save E.O. Fleming, which is really crazy, which means he, of course, is going to be returning, and he's going to get a new mobile suit. And just like the original series, the war ends, the Federation wins, Zeon loses, and they all splinter off into these different groups. And the basis of this story is going to be that the Federation are going to be looking for the remnants of Zeon, and some of these groups are going to feature familiar characters, such as Daryl Lawrence, who is arguably the main character from the first season, and being that he's a Zeon makes it all the more interesting as he is the protagonist, with E.O. Fleming being a Federation soldier, but also being a little bit psychotic. And what I love most about Daryl Lawrence, too, is that his struggle still continues. He's not a perfect character. He's having to pilot mobile suits, which are really difficult for him, even more so that he's lost all of his limbs. Daryl also still continues to have a firm appreciation for music, which I always think is one of the more interesting things about his character. There's a beautiful shot of him just relaxing by the beach and listening to some music that just really eases out the vibe, especially considering the rest of the episode just gets very intense. And this whole scene is also to introduce some brand new characters who are with this Zeon group, such as Billy, who's a chain-smoking badass, and a few others who unfortunately do go nameless, but we do get to see they're getting ready to perform an operation with some underwater mobile suits known as the At Guys, which I'm glad they're doing this because I always found the underwater mobile suits in the original series to frankly look a little lame. I've just never really liked the design of them, and they make them look really awesome in this episode when they're diving in the water at night. It's some beautiful imagery. We also get to see there's a lot of other brand new characters who are going to be on this massive ship which resembles the White Base, which is called the Spartan. There's this one chick by the name of Carlisle who just... man, I don't know what's up with her, but I know she's very important because she has a distinctive personality, but man, she comes on strong, if you know what I mean. And they also really decide to hide E.O. Fleming throughout most of the episode, especially considering that he's going to have a new mobile suit. And you get to see towards the end of the episode, there is this fantastic moment where there is this Zeon ship which is getting ready to perform a kamikaze attack on the Spartan ship. And as it's going on, they're trying to fire at it with all of their ships when suddenly we see E.O. Fleming in his brand new Gundam, which is called the Gundam Atlas, just arrive and just completely destroy the ship by cutting it clean in half with his beam saber. And saying it like that makes it sound kind of boring. It's like, we've seen that shit in Gundam before. The design of the Gundam Atlas and what it can actually do is one of the most unique things that I've seen from the Gundam series. The overall design of the Atlas I love, especially the color scheme, which is white, yellow, and black. And I love that it has these massive thrusters that it can use in a number of different ways. Basically, they kind of look like giant skis. It can actually wear them on its feet. It can use them on its back. It can attach them together and ride it like a freaking surfing board. It's just so awesome looking, and the fact that it's also attached to these smaller arms behind its legs means that these thrusters can move around in a lot of interesting ways. It also has a massive railgun, which is incredibly destructive and makes one of the most satisfying explosive sounds that I've ever heard. Really, the introduction of the Gundam Atlas is just to show how far the Federation has come in their design of mobile suits, and when compared to the super overpowered Gundam that we saw from the first season of Gundam Thunderbolt, I like this one a lot more. It's a little sleeker. It's not as, like, flashy. There's little design things about it that I think are really clever. The fact that the back of it actually kind of looks like a bony spinal cord. It just reeks of awesomeness, and I've sort of stopped building Gundam models, but after seeing this one, damn, I might have to pick this one up. This thing is a great showcase for this Gundam. And of course, that's where the episode comes to an end. So, what's the rundown on the 5th episode of Mobile Suit Gundam Thunderbolt? I felt super wasted after watching this episode. Maybe it's because I was drinking a few beers with friends when we were watching it, but it was an episode that just reeked of awesomeness. It also felt a little longer than the first season. Like, I don't know, it felt like there was more room for development in this one. It's still going to be the same length, only a couple of episodes and only one episode a month, but it just felt more developed in this episode. Maybe it's because there was a first season and we're finally getting to see the continuation of these characters, but I'm really glad that they are back. I'm waiting for that inevitable big rematch between E.O. Fleming and Daryl Lawrence. I think it's going to be really impressive, and if that's what the Gundam of the series is going to look like, I can't wait to see what Daryl is going to be piloting. I don't know if it's going to be an AT guy or anything. It's probably going to be another upgraded version of the Zaku's, but we'll have to wait and see. The best thing about this episode, though, is that it still manages to keep the style of Gundam Thunderbolt alive, which is its amazing atmosphere and music, and its ability to also just be really fucked up. There are moments in the Gundam franchise where it can go to dark places, and it's been increasing a lot lately with shows like Iron-Blooded Orphans and with Gundam Thunderbolt, and being very unapologetic, and that's what you get from a lot of the imagery in this episode. Just so disturbing are these battles. They almost seem like they don't fit in line with the original Mobile Suit Gundam series from 1979, despite the fact that that series does also go into some pretty dark territory. But man, this one is just really unapologetic about it. They show you everything, all of the death, all of the destruction, and they do it all with a jazz soundtrack, which just works. It just really sucks you into every single scene. It also helps that I think this is one of the more colorful versions of the Universal Century story that I've ever seen. I don't know what it is about the color scheme in this show, but man, does it just pop. It is so appealing to the eyes. It looks really great on the mobile suits, but it also really works on just the characters themselves. Everyone looks really distinct, and no one looks like any other character that you'd see. You can tell they spent a lot of time in trying to create some really interesting characters that everyone can get behind. That's something that I really like. I also love the aspect of this series taking place directly after the battle of the One-Year War, like getting to see what happens during that period with the different Zeon groups going off. You could argue that this is a non-canon story. I mean, there are some things in this episode which don't make sense, like seeing this like whole Gundam Corps go into a Bawaku to take on these really elaborately designed Zaku's. I mean, they look really awesome, and they're clearly some sort of experimental mobile suit group, and you could argue that they were just in the background the entire time, but I've heard a lot of people and sources tell me that Gundam Thunderbolt, unfortunately, is not canon to the main storyline. The good thing is that doesn't diminish what you're going to see here. What you are going to see is a super well-animated, awesome atmospheric episode of Gundam Thunderbolt. And if you liked the first season, prepare to like this one too. It's just as good as the old stuff, if not better. So, Gundam Atlas, maybe my top 5 favorite Gundams of all time. That is a list that I've got to make, are my top 10 favorite mobile suits. I'll get on that eventually. What I will say is this episode was awesome. I can't wait for next month's. I'm going to give this one a 5 out of 5. Check it out, Gundam fans. It is streaming right now, and you should definitely not miss your opportunity to check this one out. I missed my opportunity to get the DVD and Blu-ray of the original season, and I'm not going to do it this time. I love me some Gundam Thunderbolt, so check it out, guys. If any of you did watch the episode, please tell me what you thought about it in the comments section below. Were you a fan of this first season? Are you excited to see the return of Daryl and Io? What did you think of the introduction of the Gundam Atlas, and what do you hope to see from Gundam Thunderbolt? Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure to subscribe to the channel for all things Gundam and anime related. Please leave me a comment or two, and make sure to like this video if you liked it. Give it a thumbs down if you didn't. I'll see you guys next time. And as always, stay damned, baby.